Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. As always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on all things the fellas and hit the notification bell. We're going to jump into it. The Monaco Grand Prix. You know, guys, I was watching the qualifying. I was watching the qualifying this weekend, and I was saying to myself, I was like, I think I more enjoy the qualifying than the Grand Prix sometimes, because the Grand Prix is processional. And I kind of like watching them fight for it, fight for the time, to qualify. But this race was different for me. This race was good. This race had so much in it. So I don't know. I'm ready to jump into what Kimi dominates. But Simon, I'm going to throw it to you.
Yeah, the race was awesome. Of course, this overall, the qualifying was exciting because of who was, the front runners, and we really didn't know. I mean, we thought Ferrari was going to dominate, the final qualifying based on practice. But yeah, I mean, the race turned into an unpredictable, atmosphere for everyone. So yeah, I enjoyed the race for the first time, I think, in a while. Monaco is usually boring, so it was all right for me, for sure.
Ray?
Yeah, I'll say I've called the race the processional, but I would want to say that this one was filled with excitement. It was not a procession, because you had what happened off of the line, and things that happened through the race. Though it made it, very interesting. I was very focused on the race this time.
Yeah. For me as well. It had me on the edge of my seat a few times, starting with qualifying. And even seeing how racy Ferrari looked and how racy Lewis was. And hey, let's say it, how dominant Kimi was.
Yeah,
even in qualifying. Oh yeah, he was dominant. And in the Grand Prix itself, I mean, he drove a beautiful race. All those hurdles that would have tripped him up or have tripped him up in the past, like getting a good start, and then he had to do two of them in this race, and he got them both, having the pressure from Max at first. Well, him on the grid. We'll talk about that later. And then, having Lewis next to him on the restart. Kimi is really showing himself, showing what he has. And I mean, kudos to him. And he's putting George to sleep. Ray?
Yeah, I said this was Kimi's this is Kimi's car, the way they have it set up right now, and it's Kimi time to shine, and he is shining. He is. It makes me feel for George because he's a little young upstart, and now he's taking the show away, right? Because even in qualifying, other dudes are tapping the barriers left and right. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get the speed. However, he was just zinging through stuff like, "Hey, give me more, give me more." So. Yeah, this, I don't know. Kimi has, he must have a good angel on his shoulder or something, because he was flying through there like nothing. Everybody threw up times, right? What's it called? Leclerc was sliding all over the place, trying to throw up a qualifying time. And when you look at what Kimi was doing, this car didn't really get out of shape. The car seemed to be very composed throughout the whole process. So
Simon, right before, I just want to note out Stonewall Dave. I agree with you. Yep. Monaco is Monaco. But yes, qualifying at least is always perfection. I agree with you. That's what we're saying. Go ahead, Simon.
Yeah. So Kimi's dominating in multiple facets, right? So last episode, Ray and I talked about if Kimi won this race, and I was thinking it's a wrap for Russell for the rest of the year. If Kimi won this race, it'd be his 5th race in a row. Mm-hmm. Russell even said it right after qualifying that he doesn't know why Kimi is able to get more out of the car than he is. This is almost like a Max Verstappen thing versus all the other minions that follow Max, right? They're not getting the best out of the car like Max is, and Kimi's doing that with Russell right now. He doesn't understand why Kimi is getting the numbers that he was getting, and Russell was getting in the first 2 races back in Melbourne. Kimi's just dominating the car right now. He understands the car, and I'm wondering if that's a generational thing, or he's just a young thing, and he's just it's just clicking. But his confidence is unbelievable. I anticipated him making a mistake,
Right.
and losing it to either Max or Lewis, and he didn't. He didn't make a mistake in practice. He didn't make a mistake in qualifying, and he didn't make a mistake in the race. Even after a tough race that had so many ups and downs, he did not make a rookie mistake.
Well, you know, I agree with all that you just said. And I think what it is, as with anything that, you know, like that in sport that you're going to try to excel at, or you're trying your best, you have to first get control of your mind. And I think that's what part of what Kimi has done. He's settled himself down mentally, and he's just rolling into it. And what we're seeing now is a flip of what was potentially happening before. I mean, part of it is that Kimi's is, you know, he's young, he's new, so he's going to make mistakes. But we're seeing that flip where now George is destabilized, right? George doesn't know. Like, he feels like he has this dark gray cloud over his head. He doesn't understand what's happening. And the further he sinks into that, if Kimi keeps his head screwed on right, he's going to keep going down the track away from him. So I think I was surprised as well. I was nervous on the restart. Well, nervous in a way I would have loved to see Lewis snatch it, but I was glad that Kimi was able to hold it. But I was nervous because he's always had an issue with the start. So I think his mental game right now is strong, whatever he's doing. And yes, he's able to extract what he needs out of the car. And conversely, George, I think because his mental game is slipping a little, he's not able to. And part of it, like the last race wasn't his fault. The PU just shut down. That was out of his control. But that's demoralizing and destabilizing for him mentally.
So right? I want to say this, that Kimi, Verstappen gave Kimi a gift on the first start. When Max's car went haywire, right? It tremendously helped Kimi. Right. I think we would have a different scenario if Max's car didn't cough at the beginning. Right. So because, Lewis had to come from behind Kimi to get around him, whereas Verstappen would be right beside him, on the go. So, but he capitalized on it, and it's nothing to take away from Kimi. He capitalized on it, and he was able to stay focused. And man, he almost lapped the field. Right. And the point I'm making, that he was back to the back of the field when the guys that were in second and third were still up front, right? So he almost lapped them and put them on a lap down. So whatever he's on or whatever state he's in, he is he's one with the car, right?
Right.
And he was just like Zen moment, just running that car, getting it where he wanted to get it, whatever he wanted to do. So. Right. Props off to him on his thing. He set history today, right? He was the second Italian in many years to be on the podium. I can't remember for it. And I think
22.
Yeah. And then he also set for his age, right? The youngest to be on there.
Yes, yes.
To win Monaco? I think to win Monaco, yeah.
Right. So he was a memorable day for his accomplishment. So, yes. I'm very happy for him.
Yeah, I want to also say I agree again with Stonewall's comment. And the thing about it is, we've seen this where you have we saw it with Alonso and Lewis when Lewis came in, that you figured the new kid is going to need time to get up to speed. And Lewis did it in that first season. Kimi, it took him 2 seasons, right? We're seeing a new Kimi at the start of this season now. That he's challenging George. And I agree. Yeah, George probably thought in the beginning, okay, I got the measure of him, but now it's flipped. Now it's flipped. And just to throw a little conspiracy into it, in a sense, you also have to think about it, is that there were rumors of like Toto talking with Max, and even still, like, if depending on what's going on at Red Bull, whether or not Max, he might want to leave, Mercedes would seem to be the team to join. Pretty much feel that if that were to play out, it's George that's going to get the boot, right? And based on the performance that we're seeing now from Kimi, if he maintains that, and George can't answer that strong enough, It would be. So what I'm saying is the shift within the team may, if this continues, will start to flow more to Kimi and away from George.
So you're trying to say,
which would further destabilize him.
So you're saying we're back to the days with Lewis and Rosberg when the A team that was on Lewis's car now moves to Kimi and George has a B team?
No, they're not going to move it. What okay. It seems is that Kimi is if he continues this form, it's going to shift. The team is going to shift behind him.
It's going to shift the team dynamic. I totally agree. And it probably already started shifting, right? I mean, it was funny to hear Lewis and Kimi and Hadjar in the cool down room, and Lewis goes to Kimi as he walks in. That's a lot of races, bro. That's a lot of wins. You're catching up. You're catching up to me. That's a lot of wins, right? But yeah, I mean, Kimi is he's just dominating right now, man. And to be so young, and you know, I really expected him to make some more rookie mistakes to where Russell was going to take it this year from a championship standpoint. But he's not making any mistakes, and he's getting more confident every race. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's, unless something catastrophic happens, as I told Ray last week, it's a wrap for Russell. It's a wrap.
Well, there's still a little bit more to go, so I'm not ready to call you and say you're right yet. It's not written off yet. It's going to be challenging for George to come back for sure, but it's not over yet.
But before we move off, hats off again to Kimi. Excellent drive, really good drive, and really happy for him. Hope to see more like that from him this season, and I want to see George pick up as well and come back online, But moving on to the next one. Hey, we got to quote it the way that famous lady would have done it. You get a penalty. You get a penalty. Wow, penalties galore flowing out there. Simon, run with it.
It was crazy, especially the pit lane
limiter,
speeding, right?
Limiter.
To see 6 individuals get penalized for that, something was going wrong. Even the commentators were saying something's going wrong there. And Lewis was the first one to get it. And it's like a domino effect happened after that. And I was getting worried because Charles was catching Lewis. And I was like, oh man, he's going to lose his second spot because Charles is just going to, once he gets below 5 seconds, it's over. And I knew Lewis's tires were older than Charles, so there's no way that he could survive. And then we had the red flag, right? Mm-hmm. And then we had the safety car. So that kind of saved him. But yeah, so many penalties, so many pit lane penalties. People just going over the line. Russell got like 3 penalties, and so many people under investigation. I think Hadjar is the last one that got released from investigation today. So I'm thinking the grid, how it ended, is how it's going to be for this race. But unbelievable penalties.
Ray?
Well, I agree. I thought the FIA kind of lost their mind there for a minute because it was just like, especially on the pit lane speed limiter thing. It's just, I think I thought that, eventually they're going to have to do a reinvestigation of that because I agree with the commentator. The sample size of people that were getting the penalties were so vast and varied and it was so consistent that it makes it hard for you to think that all these people were subscribing to the wrong thing at the same time. Right. Yeah. So I think, there's, something going to come out and say that limiter was off some down the road. Right. But what saved everything for most of the people is the red flag. Right. That came out because that allowed them to come into the pit, wait for a bit, cool down or, and even before that, some of them had the opportunity who served the penalty before they had their pit stop, then got it nullified because of the red flag. Everybody was back to, ground zero again in a sense. So, but I think that needs to be looked at because that was kind of crazy. It was crazy.
I think it was a combination of things. I think part of, I don't want to say most of them, but I'll say some of them were because they were cutting on entry that white line. So they weren't you have to go to the right to avoid the line, which would then slow you down even more as you go in, but they're cutting it. So they're closing that gap faster than they normally would have. And it was triggering them as, oh, you're speeding because now you're over here when you should be back here, like as far as turning in. So I think that's part of it. And they were warned about it in the past, but it wasn't, I guess, fully enforced this weekend to drive it home in the minds of all the teams to say, hey, don't cut the line on pit entry when you're going there. I know George got one because he cut the line on exit or almost, and I think they took that one away, but then he got a few more. He just wanted
they just had a pin up their butt. They just want to get people.
Well, I think that's part of it with Monaco, though. I remember Michael used to say that he enjoyed that track because it was so technical and, because of the barriers and stuff like that. It's just one of those things where it's one of those added things you have to pay attention to. But for whatever reason, it seemed to have slipped a majority of the team's minds to say, hey, pay attention to it. But yeah, I was surprised at first when I was looking at it. I was like, how come all these cars are getting these penalties for
penalties? It's crazy.
Pit lane speed violations. Like something's up, but thankfully they washed away those. But I feel it for I'll say it this way. I feel it for, which is our next segment, for Pierre, but we'll get into that in our next segment. So having said that, race disappointments. I'll start it even though with Pierre. I felt really bad for him that because he got his penalty, like he lost out on a podium, which that hurt. And you saw the pain in him in the interview. I was like, wow, I felt it for him. But anyway, Simon?
Yeah, I felt it for a few. I felt it for Max. I really wanted to see the battle between the three top qualifiers, Max, Lewis, and Kimi. I felt it for him. I felt it for Bottas, right? Also, Charles Leclerc. I mean, all of them, especially for Charles, to lose it after a red flag start right into the barrier. And you can tell he was so upset about the brakes, right? Which brings me to a question of disappointment. I don't know if you guys noticed what Charles said in the post race interview, but he stated something like Lewis has figured out, or Lewis's setup for brakes
I caught it.
is working, and he's going to try that now. And I'm wondering if it's the setup that he had on Mercedes.
Well, I'll say this. I think I have an answer. Earlier on when Lewis came on, one of the stipulations he had for Ferrari runs Brembo. Lewis is used to carbon industry, right? Which it's a different composition, right? And how the brake bites and so on. So what they were saying is that it probably would have to run Brembo calipers, but carbon industry discs, right?
And rotors.
Right, discs, rotors. Yes, exactly, rotors.
Pads and rotors. You have to run both of them.
Right, pads and rotors. Thank you. So what it comes down to, when Charles said that, I said, that might be what it is, because that was one of the things when Lewis was shifting over to Ferrari. He's used to how that brake setup bites, how it comes in, how it functions, and he didn't want to have to add that to the list of things that he has to relearn when he came to Ferrari. So I believe when Charles said that, I said he's probably talking about that.
But he also said, though, that while he was on the brake, the car itself was surging, right? So again, is that he goes off of throttle to brake, but the power is not being to the driveline is not cutting, right? Because he did say that they run two different setups, and there was just a recap that they had two different options, and he chose not to go to that new option for the braking, braking setup. But what I took away that was key for him, well, plus there were two different setups, but the part that caught me is that he said that when he went to brake, the car was still surging forward, right? So it makes me wonder now, who's control of the drive wheel? Is it the electric motor or the engine, right? Because I must have missed that, because it makes it seem to me that the electric motor is the one that's surging, is then not decoupling from
Right.
taking the signal from the brakes, or you need strong enough brakes to override the surge of the motor so that you
Right.
can get what you want.
Right. I think Lance Stroll's contribution was he mentioned that when he had his crash, that it was an engine surge for him that pushed him out. And there's speculation that it may be a combination of that also with Charles. It could have been. And also the fact that it happened right on that patch of the track that was coming up, right?
Yeah.
Delaminating or whatever, if you want to call it that. And Charles, when he went into that turn, he went wider. So he was also on the marbles and that patch, right? So it may be like a perfect storm where it could have been an engine surge coupled with the fact that you're on the marbles and now you're on that patch of track that was already starting to break up or grain. Simon, Ray, go ahead.
No, I'd say that it's I would want to venture that it was the breakup of the track, right? Because even if the marbles was on there, the car would surge. Yes, you'd lose control, but he wasn't going fast enough for it to, be that detrimental at that point, right? From what again, from my couch, let me just say that. So I want to think that, it picked up the pieces and the stones, they don't compress or, provide any grip whatsoever. So it just pushes you on, wherever you're going with that momentum, right? So whereas the rubber wouldn't do as much. Right.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, just based on his conversation that he's had problems with the brakes prior to the race. Right. So I think it was, like you said, a perfect storm, also coupled with the track, also coupled with the dirty track, and you can tell he was angry at the situation, the team. He says, I'm not taking blame for this one. He says, I've had shown my accountability. Whenever I make a mistake, I own it. I am not owning this one. So it's telling that it's something else going on other than just the track too, right? There's something there, and then the track just amplified it. Right.
And I think his candor is also doing part to that nice contract he just signed. He's like, listen, I'm gonna tell you what I feel is I'm not taking this one. But I agree.
Basically.
I agree. So the other one, go ahead, Simon. You had another one.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the other one was Carlos Sainz. That's another disappointment that actually George played a direct hand in of sorts, like backing up, trying to bunch up to try to gain, to try to minimize the time penalty he had coming, right? And in the end, poor Nico, he had full lock in. He had nowhere else to go with it. It just, the funnel closed in and boom, and that was it, right?
So I think that was George's, for in a different term, hand gesture to the FIA. When they hit him with all that stuff, he's like, all right, I got you. I'm going to show you what's up, right? Okay. And he backed that bad boy up, and hey, it's sad that something else, that happened, but it was bound to happen, right? Because everybody's on a start there, they all can't fit down the road. But I just think it's, I kind of looked at it that way, that it was, I think the commentator tried to come on and justify it and say, well, he's trying to create a gap so that when he goes to serve his penalty, but that didn't add up. I think it was his hand gesture to the FIA for all the stuff that they gave him. That's just my take.
Simon?
I think two things can be true. And I think, Ray, you're right.
The diplomat. Here's the diplomat.
I think you're right. I think he was upset because, from what I understand, he ran over to the FIA doing the red flag. But I also think he was trying to create an accident so he could go into the pit, serve his penalty, and not lose a place.
So you wanted a red flag then? You think that's what he was trying to go after?
Red flag, safety car, whatever. If he would have gotten a safety car, he would have only been in the pit for 10 seconds in reality, right? And he probably would have gotten maybe 10th place, maybe 9th. He wouldn't have kept his position, but I think he was backing it up. Something happened, he would have taken off.
Yeah.
Right. And then get in the pit, serve his time, and then maybe hopefully come out 12th, 11th, 10th to try and get some points.
I'll say this. Go ahead, Simon. And what?
And kind of give the middle finger F1 finger to FIA.
Well, I'm gonna say this: Mercedes shafted George with the execution of that penalty, right? Because that's what I want to. That's what I want to get back onto, because I'm like, how are you going to get him? How are you going to get him double stacked behind Kimi? He's coming in, he's waiting there. Come on. They try to talk about, some of the commentators about some rule. No, listen, man. From I've been watching it, you serve your penalty in the pit box. So he's wasting time sitting behind Kimi. Then he pulls in. You could see one side of the front. I think it was the right front. They waited. They didn't touch the car right away. They were waiting because in their head, they're like, yo, he's got a penalty he's got to serve. But the other side jumped on and everybody else jumped on it. Because I was watching the pit stop. I'm like, what's going on? This doesn't make sense, right? And then you start to see it as that, oh, he didn't serve his penalty. And you let him back out at Monaco, he's screwed. Right?
Done.
So that, right, done, right there. And that one coming from Mercedes, so when we said about Kimi and rookie, that's a rookie mistake.
You don't think it was the guy that lifts the car up in the front?
No, it had to come down. No, it had to come down from the race engineer, whatever. All those pit guys, when they're going to serve the penalty, it comes down, guys, 5-second penalty, blah, blah, blah. So the entire pit crew knows, wait. So how is it one tire is waiting, and then the rest jump on it? Breakdown in communication. Go ahead, Bro.
So don't you think that there was a gray area that Mercedes was trying to explore with that move?
Okay, and we see what I got him. You know what would have worked out? Let him serve the 5-second penalty, and then you deal with it on track. I mean, you understand you can't really pass on track, but look what happened to him now.
Yeah.
So instead of 5, he got another 10, 15. Dude is done. No points. So if somebody made that call, they're an idiot.
No, they didn't make the call. That's the thing.
No, to say whatever they were trying, like thinking that him waiting behind is going to count. It doesn't count. You know that it doesn't count. He has to be in the pit box, right?
Bro, even if it was a drive-through, because it was a drive-through, wasn't it?
No. He got a drive-through as a result of not serving the 5, right? So I'm saying it's a 5-second penalty. So what did he lose? Let him serve it. He pulls in, wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jump on the car, get him out, right? With that, I can see and I understand George is being pissed, and that could be part of the things seeping into his mind. It's like, yo, are they turning against me now? Are they favoring Kimi? I'm taking a page out of Conspiracy Brother, but are they turning against me? Right? Because how do you make that mistake?
The telltale sign if he thinks that, if he starts hanging out with Lewis.
Ooh.
Start hanging out with Lewis. Hey, Lewis.
Well, listen, man.
I feel your pain, bro. I feel your pain.
Well, Simon, being that you say that, it's funny. Watching Formula One, what goes around comes around. That old saying, oh boy, you see it. You see it. What goes around comes around. You're the golden child or whatever, and everything going on with you, good. But then it flips, and then now you're the dude being trampled by the next one. Getting a taste of what you used to dole out. But anyway, whatever. So, yeah. So, having said that, let's move into the Kardashian Effect. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ray.
Tell us how you feel, Ray.
Okay.
Tell us how you feel.
I just found it interesting that she was there with her sister. But all right, let me roll it back. What made it real instant when they had a cap showing Lewis going down on the street.
Going down where? Oh, okay.
Going on the street with his trophy, right? Going to where the guys, people were standing around. Okay. And when he went over to her, if you were such a hot item, right? I think you would have kissed on the lips. But it was, the European way of greeting.
On the cheek,
right?
Was it 2? Was it 2 or 1?
I think it was just 1. I think so because hold on, because Lewis on the podium, the young ladies that were up there, they're all doing to the Lewis. None of the other guys got any of that. When Lewis walked up, man, it was just like old days. You know, he was getting the cheek left and right. You know, so you know, maybe, you know, there, I don't know, maybe, you know, somebody might have been a little upset. I don't know, but anyway, I just found it interesting. That's all.
So what are you really trying to say? What are you trying to say, Ray? You trying to say that this is what, some sort of show that we're watching between, you know, Lewis and Kim?
I want to. That's kind of, it could be, you know, very highly likely that it is. You know, that it's something to, you know, it's like back in the wrestling days. You know what I'm saying? When you know, certain things happen to heighten the intensity. I think that might be this might be the case.
To do a poor imitation of a countryman of Lewis. So, my dear boy, are you saying that it's contrived?
Yes, it is.
all I can say is this: whatever she's doing, keep it up, because my man's came in second 2 races in a row. You know what? At first, I was like, man, this is just a show. It's a money grab. And it still could be a money grab, but I'm saying it's working. It's working for me because my man's winning. He's on the podium 2 races in a row. He's actually beat Charles in qualifying and in the race. So you know what, Kim? You know, what products you got? I'm buying it.
Okay. You're a full supporter right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? Yeah. I don't know what it is. May never know, but yeah, that's all I have to say. I leave it as such.
You said a lot there, Ralph.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Lewis, and hey, you know, good luck. You know, it's good marketing and good everything. But yeah, okay. Coming back around, let's move into the standings, driver standings. Simon?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I thought was fascinating with this Monaco race was what, you know, transpired with all the standings. You know, we have Lewis that is in second place now. We have Russell's in third place. Charles is in fourth place. Piastri has moved up. Oscar's gone down as far as with his teammates. So, you know, Hadjar is getting points. This weekend really upset the apple cart as far as the placement of where everyone is. So I find it interesting that one race can change a lot. And maybe it was but yeah, Lewis being in second is pretty cool. Kimi is just running away with it. So unless something catastrophic happens, it's his championship to lose. But we said the same thing about Norris last year too. So we'll keep it going.
Yeah, you brought something up, but I'll leave it alone. I wanted to say something. Ray, go ahead.
Well, on piggybacking on what Simon said, yes, I think it's still early to call if Kimi is going to be the champion. He is on his way, but you know, it's going to be a bigger effort to come back and chop it down, right? So if he keeps it up, you know, if he goes the next weekend and he's there on, you know, it's still going to be a sizable mountain that needs to be moved if George is going to be able to come back and do it, because it's clear that the engines that the Mercedes is using is not the same engine that they sold to McLaren, right? Because the McLaren is falling apart and their stuff is still running. So, you know, it's we'll see. It's going to be interesting, and I'm hoping that, you know, Ferrari can bring it back and come back some more, you know, and help tighten up the rear of the car still, because the car seemed pretty loose the way Leclerc was driving it. So we'll see. Right. But again, yeah, it's still early to call. I think after the next race, if Kimi comes out on top, then it's highly likely. Yep, that's right. It is. It's a wrap. Yeah, I can't dispute that fact at that point. Yes.
Well, I'm gonna say again. Yeah, I agree. It's too early to call. It looks good. It looks good so far. If he can keep that momentum up, and because remember, if he has George had a DNF. If Kimi has a DNF, George wins, closes down that gap. If Kimi has 2 DNFs, closes it down even more. We missed out. You never know. Red Bull, you know, if they get their stuff sorted out, they might be in the mix just to siphon points away from Kimi. If Max gets a sniff, he's going to go get it. If Lewis or Charles gets a car that they like, and they can, if Ferrari picks it up, a lot of things can happen, you know, before now. But so far he looks good. But yeah, I'm still waiting. To use a term Ray used last season, we'll see what he does in the next race. And then I'll just keep moving that down each season.
There you go.
Well, he's ready.
You get to the end. It works.
Right.
Proven strategy.
But constructors, Simon.
No, I mean,
anything to
nothing to add. Mercedes is up there by what, 60 something points, and then you know, Ferrari's strong behind them. So, you know, it's right now it looks like Mercedes is running away with it. So
yeah, and McLaren, they're third. They're not showing, you know, like that they're up there challenging. Hopefully they'll come back online too, you know, so they could pick it up. Piastri and Lando, they haven't gotten it together yet. So there's hanging out in third. Yeah,
I can't wait to Monza and Spa.
Yeah,
those two tracks, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see.
Yep. And this weekend we have Spain and as they say, Barcelona in Barcelona, but we'll see how they go on there. So moving into predictions, I'm going to throw it to you, Ray.
It's going to be George.
Okay.
Okay. Charles.
Woo! Okay. Oh, George Charles. Okay.
And Verstappen.
Oh, no Lewis. Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. George.
Well,
okay.
You said George, Charles, and Verstappen, right? I just want to make sure I understand that. So obviously, you're not a true believer of the Kim Kardashian effect. So I'm gonna say Kimi.
Right.
I'm gonna say Kimi, Charles, and Lewis.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that too. Yeah, I think I'm gonna say George to win it, because I'm gonna say he has to. Right, George to win it, Kimi second, and I'm gonna say that Kardashian effect is gonna be lingering still. Lewis.
Yeah.
Forces Max.
Lewis looks more relaxed now, so I'm going with that Kardashian effect. He's really relaxed. That's what I'm saying.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. We'll be coming to you again this upcoming weekend for the Grand Prix of Barcelona. Until then, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and stay up to date on all things the fellas. We'll see you this weekend.
Peace.